Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff Brown come for you?
If you're wondering why I'm having Bad Boys playing in the background at the beginning of this video, it is because the quality on these videos has been so terrible in the last 4 of them that I sincerely apologize, and I thank you for still watching. Yet for some reason it looks fine when I hit playback before, when you save the video, if you do quick capture. When I hit playback it looks fine, but for some reason something along the upload process makes it look as if I'm one of those people on Cops trying to censor my goddamn face. And whenever I click on the actual video after it's uploaded on my page, it looks like I'm freaking Pac-Man. So I don't know what the hell is wrong and what's wrong with my camera or what's happening on the uploading process, but either way, I finished watching Spinnernet's WWE Draft Picks video about an hour and a half ago, and I've spent the time since then picking my choices for my own WWE Draft. And that's what this video is going to be, a response to that similar format. And I would like to start off with ECW. Lots of people I would like to see go there. As he said, it's like 5 picks, so I'm going to follow that format, I guess. Segregate it by shows between these anyways. So I have as much time as possible. Let's get started. Oh, and one precursor as to why I picked the people on ECW I did, because it's not really self-explanatory why there's no big names I picked. As Spinnernet said, it's really a developmental territory, so I picked a lot of young talent that I think would suit ECW well. It's like a developmental territory with 3 well-known names put in there for name's sake. Kane, he's there because he's the champ. He didn't have much else to do elsewhere. Tommy Dreamer is there because he's obviously synonymous with the original ECW. And Chavo is there. Well, he used to be like champion, and he was in a feud, but now he's just pretty much on the list. He's predominantly wrestling on SmackDown. I would have had him in my SmackDown draft list, but it wouldn't make much sense because he's already wrestling there. Anyways, London and Kendrick. This team would be perfect for ECW. ECW is more of a wrestling base, kind of more lucrative. A lot of freedom, and they're not being utilized. They're not being utilized at all on Raw. I mean, I was heartbroken to see them in the squash matches, but the latter was not much more desirable in the fact that they aren't really appearing on Raw at all now. So London and Kendrick to ECW, they would be phenomenal there. I think that is the beginning of the tag team division, which I also have another tag team after this. Brian Kendrick, Paul London, they perfectly fit the persona of the show. Young wrestlers, athletic, and they could kind of be built something to more of WWE's desiring, because they tend to like people who have like strong characters and can draw money, like charisma, and they lack that, so they could build that in a run on ECW. And Jimmy Wang Yang and Shannon Moore, they've wrestled on ECW before, and the matches they have had on there, they've been very exciting. They've actually been the highlights of the show. And I think London and Kendrick versus Jimmy Wang Yang and Shannon Moore feud, I think that would be amazing. I think that could actually be, since ECW only has about one advertised storyline running through it, I think that could be one of the main draws of the show. And under the one that kind of branches out from SmackDown, it could be like one of the main draws of the show. I think that could increase ratings, and I think more for wrestling purposes, it'd be hell of an entertaining match. Last person for ECW, I put there, to come back for his return. This is how I would see Gregory Helms making his entrance on ECW. They're picked at random, at least in kayfabe. So they could have his name come up at random, but say, oh, he's injured, next competitor, and then he could appear on ECW the next night. That'd be an amazing surprise, having his entrance music start playing. He could start a face run where he's kind of running his mouth, kind of like Kennedy does, and he could go to the person who got picked after him for ECW and say, hey, I deserve to be here more than you do, and have a loser leaves ECW match. And anyways, kind of been thinking about that a little bit. Anyways, on to Raw. I would pick Deuce and Domino to go to Raw simply because I think it would make a hilariously entertaining feud to have them versus Crime Time. If you were wondering why I think this, Crime Time, they're obviously the stereotypical, like, ghetto black thug thing. So that made it funny when they were feuding with, like, stereotypical white rednecks in Cade and Murdoch. So if they were to do the stereotypical black thugs versus the another white stereotype, the greaser thing, I think that would be another funny thing. I mean, they didn't really end that feud, so it could kind of be like continuing on where they left off when they last got released. That'd be entertaining. MVP, I actually agree with Spinnernet on this a lot, and that's why I put MVP here. He made a point that I had no way to counter, and I completely agreed with. MVP to Raw. Simply because what Spinnernet said, if he's the MVP of WWE like he says he is, he should go on the MVP show. And I know every long-term wrestling fan known to man and God is going to hate my guts for saying this, but I'm going to say simply because he's been on SmackDown for years and I'm so tired of seeing his steroid-induced ass make that stupid like strut to the ring. I'm going to put, just for having it fresh, for freshness sake, I'm going to put Batista on Raw. Don't worry, if he was on Raw, God forbid he would do anything with Triple H. I would not want that. I would want him to be more of an upper mid-carder like MVP is now, or a secondary main event guy, because they have, with less matches, they usually have more world title matches, so he could be something like in that, or, well, you know what I'm getting at. Next is Matt Hardy. Because Matt Hardy's done virtually everything there is to do on SmackDown, and this would be kind of a circumstantial one in case he lost. This is how I could see him doing it. You know how they have the matches to decide which brand gets the next draft pick. He could defend the U.S. title on that. Like, he could piss off Vince, then he could defend the U.S. title on that, lose, then he could go to Raw for a fresh start, and maybe even periodically we could see some Hardy Boys matches. Neither of them really need that, but it'd still be nice to see for nostalgia's sake. I got 2:45 to go, so I'm going to hurry this up a little bit so I don't have to have a crappy ending like I did when I tried recording this the first time. Elijah Burke, he's not doing jack shit on ECW. I mean, he fits the persona of the show, and he was doing well on there back in the New Breed days, but we're long past that. Last match I remember seeing him on SmackDown with was versus Batista, and that it was a pretty entertaining match. He caught him in midair in a spine buster, and I think he would be a very good mid-card heel for SmackDown. And plus, he's not really even on ECW, barely. He's on not every week, not really even every other week. Next, moving on up, CM Punk. In the spirit of moving on up, I mean, I already made a whole video, pretty much a whole video or two, talking about where I think CM Punk should go. Obviously, he should go to SmackDown because I think he's receiving a push, but he's Money in the Bank, and even if he does lose that, I mean, they're obviously going to play it as if he has a chance to win it. I don't think he has much of one right now, but don't go to Raw. If you're going to get a world title shot or a world title reign, hopefully, go to SmackDown, CM Punk. And the next one is Umaga to SmackDown. I think this is kind of another circumstantial one, because he's in a heel role, but I think this would have to happen after One Night Stand, like a week or two later. They could build him as a face, and the crowd kind of has reacted for him as a face, like they've started chanting for him because, he's a unique persona, he's athletic, he's entertaining. So if Umaga was going to do a face run, he would be perfect for like that on SmackDown. He could feud with the evil Mark Henry or some crap like that, I don't know. Next thing is, like Spinnernet said again, Randy Orton. I agree with him on that too. Further himself from Triple H. And this one is more of a kind of after draft thing. Like they could have it on the supplemental draft, maybe during a taping or something. It's kind of iffy, but I'm gonna go with Randy Orton. They could have a very, very big match, very much advertised, world heavyweight title on the line maybe, and he could come in, he could RKO, and he could do what he does, say that's my title shot. Next, I have really hurry on this, so I'm going to talk pretty fast. John Morrison, break up Miz and Morrison. Miz can stay on ECW, be kind of mid-card, upper mid-card, maybe get a title shot on there. I wouldn't see him winning the title, but he could stay on there, and John Morrison would be excellent. He would move on up to SmackDown. Thank you for watching Sling Blade 98.